Hi, class. Here we are on page 63, and I'm going to start from the line on page 62 by Captain Keller. I think I might have recorded it earlier, but just want to make sure it's covered. So I'm reading from the bottom of page 62, conversation between Kate and Captain Keller. Captain Keller says, "The child practically climbed out of her window to escape from her. What kind of teacher is she? I thought I had seen her at her worst this morning, shouting at me, but I come home to find the entire house disorganized by her. Helen won't stay 1 second in the room, won't come to the table with her, won't let herself be bathed or undressed or put to bed by her. Won't let herself be bathed or undressed or put to bed by her, or even by Vinny now. And the end result is that you have to do more for the child than before we hired this girl's services. From the moment she stepped off the train, she's been nothing but a burden. Incompetent, impertinent, ineffectual, immodest." She folded her napkin, Captain. What? Not ineffectual? Helen did fold her napkin. What in heaven's name is so extraordinary about folding a napkin? Well, it's more than you did, Captain. Kate, I did not bring you all the way out here to the garden house to be frivolous. Now, how does Miss Sullivan propose to teach a deaf, blind pupil who won't let her even touch her? I don't know. The fact is, today she scuttled any chance she ever had of getting along with the child. If you can see any point or purpose of her staying on here longer, it's more than, what do you wish me to do? I want you to give her notice. I can't. Then if you don't, I must. I simply will not. He is interrupted by a knock on the door. Keller, after a glance at Kate, moves to open the door. Annie, in her smoke glasses, is standing outside. Keller contemplates her heavily. Miss Sullivan? Captain Keller. She is nervous, keyed up to seizing the bull by the horns, and she assumes a cheeriness which is not unshaky. Vinny said, "I found you both over here in the garden house. I thought we should have a talk." Yes, I will come in. Annie enters and is interested in this room. She rounds on her heels, anxiously studying it. Keller turns the matter over to Kate. Kate? Captain? Keller cleans his throat, makes ready. I want to first to make my position clear to Miss Keller in private. I have decided I am not satisfied, in fact, am deeply dissatisfied with the manner in which, excuse me, is this little house ever in use? In the hunting season, if you will give me your attention, Miss Sullivan. Annie turns her smoke glasses upon him, then holding his unwilling stare, I have tried to make allowances for you because you come from a part of the country where people are women. I should say, come from who, well, from who, he begins to elude him. Allowances must be made. I have decided, nevertheless, Miss Sullivan, I find it difficult to talk through those glasses. Oh, of course. Why do you wear them? The sun has been down for an hour. Well, any kind of light hurts my eyes. A silence. Keller ponders her heavily. Put them on, Miss Sullivan. I have decided to give you another chance. To do what? To remain in our employ. Annie's eyes widen. But on two conditions. I am not accustomed to rudeness in servants or women, and that is the first. If you were to say there must be a radical change of manner. Whose? Yours, young lady. Isn't it obvious? And the second is that you persuade me there's a slight hope of your teaching a child who flees from you like the plague to anyone else she can find in the house. There isn't. Kate stops sewing and fixes her eyes upon Annie. What, Miss Annie? It's hopeless here. I can't teach a child who runs away. Then, do I understand you? Propose? Well, if we all agree it's hopeless, the next question is what? Miss Annie. She is leaning towards Annie in deadly earnest. It commands both Annie and Keller. I am not agreed. I think perhaps you underestimated Helen. I think everybody else here does. She did fold her napkin. She learns. She learns. Do you know she's been talking when she was 6 months old? She could say, water. Oh, not really. Wawa, wawa. But she meant water. She knew what it meant, and only 6 months old. I never saw a child so bright or outgoing. Her voice is unsteady, but she gets it level. It's still in her somewhere, isn't it? You should have seen her before her illness. Such a good-tempered child. She's changed? A pause. Kate not letting her eyes go, her appeal on the last unconditional and very quiet. Miss Annie, put up with it? And with us? Us? Please. Like the lost lamb in the parable, I love her all the more. Miss Keller, I don't think Helen's worst handicap is deafness or blindness. I think it's your love and pity. Now, what does that mean? All of you here are so sorry for her, you've kept her like a pet. Why, even a dog you housebreak. No wonder she won't let me come near her. It's useless for me to try to teach her language or anything else here. I might as well. Miss Annie, before you came, you spoke of putting her in an asylum. Annie turns back to regard her. What kind of asylum? For mental defectives. I visited there. I can't tell you what I saw. People like animals, with rats in the halls, and she shakes her head at her vision. What else are we to do if you give up? Give up? You said it was hopeless. Here. Give up? Why, I only today saw what has to be done. To begin. She glances from Kate to Keller, who stare, waiting, and she makes it as plain and simple as her nervousness permits. I want complete charge of her. You already have that. It has resulted in, no, I mean day and night. She has to be dependent on me. For what? Everything. The food she eats, the clothes she wears. She is amused at herself, though very serious. Air, yes, the air she breathes. Whatever her body needs is a primer to teach her out of it. It's the only way. The one who lets her have it should be her teacher. She considers them in turn. They digest it. Keller, frowning. Kate, perplexed. Not anyone who loves her has. You have so many feelings they fall over each other like feet. You won't use your chances, and you won't use your chances, and you won't let me. But if she turns from you to us. Yes, that's the point. I have to live with her somewhere else. What? Till she learns to depend on and listen to me. For how long? Well, as long as it takes. A pause. She takes a deep breath. I packed half my things already. Miss Sullivan. But when Annie attends upon him, he is speechless, and she is merely earnest. Captain Keller, it meets both your conditions. It's the one way I can get back in touch with Helen, and I don't see how I can be rude to you again if you're not around to interfere with me. Ugh. And what is your intention if I say no? Pack the other half for home and abandon your charge to the asylum. She waits, appraises Keller's glare and Kate uncertainty, and decides to use her weapons. I grew up in such an asylum, the state almshouse. Kate's head comes up on this, and Keller stares hard. Annie's tone is cheerful enough, a blight level as gunfire. Rats. Why, my brother Jimmy and I used to play with the rats because we didn't have toys. Maybe you'd like to know what Helen will find there. Not on visiting days. One ward was full of the old woman, crippled, blind, most of them dying. But even if what they had was catching there, as nowhere else to move. Then, and that's where they put us, there were younger ones across the hall, prostitutes mostly, with TB or apoplectic fits, and a couple of the kind who get other girls, especially young ones, and some insane. Some just have the DTs. The youngest were in another ward to have babies they didn't want. They started at 13, 14. They'd leave afterwards, but the babies stayed, and we played with them too, though a lot of them had sores all over from diseases you're not supposed to talk about, but not many of them lived. The first year we had 87 died. The room Jimmy and I played in was the dead house, where they kept the bodies till they could dig. Oh, my dear. The graves. She is immune to Kate's passion. No, it made me strong, but I don't think you need send Helen there. She's strong enough. She waits again, but when neither offers her a word, she simply concludes, No, I have no conditions, Captain Keller. Miss Annie. Yes? Where will you take Helen? Oh, Italy? What? Can you have everything? Can't have everything. How would this garden house do? Furnish it, bring Helen here for after a long ride so she won't recognize it, and you can see her every day. If she doesn't know, well,